What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see in front of me, we are working on the MR2 once again in an attempt to fix the oil leak at the rear main seal that keeps haunting me. So I decided to come back, and as you can tell, the rear of the car is up in the air, the engine's tilted down, and the transmission's out. So I also recycle the oil because really the oil that I put in it last time has 0 miles on it, so it's brand new, so I didn't want to waste that money. So the transmission's out. The back of the engine is exposed. I'm going to take the clutch off, the flywheel again, and we're going to take a look at the rear main oil seal and see if that's where the oil leak is coming from. I'm pretty sure it is, considering that it's leaking like through here and it ends up dripping on these little whatever you want to call that, the little ears on the upper girdle of the oil pan. So if you guys went back and read the description of the last video, what I believe that the issue is that there is a groove that was cut into the rear of the crank where the oil seal rides. Alright, so the way I'm going to be locking this, the flywheel, is going to be by this little tool. Where the hell did it go? Alright, so I'm going to be using this tool right here, along with, it's basically a ring gear locking tool. I got it from SQ Engineering. Basically, it just comes with a bolt, a little spacer, and then this little tool that helps you lock the flywheel in place. It's good for removing the flywheel bolts and also torquing them back on instead of having to put a ratchet and a socket on the front on the crank pulley to tighten or loosen them. You just get this little tool and it works great. This is for the A series blocks. You can also get them for, I believe, the 3S series blocks. So if you're doing a beam swap, then you can also buy this from SQ. So anyway, yeah, you just put the bolt through, you put the spacer behind the tool. Then you just tighten them up with a 19. Okay, so I just removed the backing plate and I'm able to just run my finger across it, and it's, I don't know if you can see that on camera or not. I wish I had a better camera to show you guys, but my finger's oily, right? So going back to what I was just saying, any type of rotating shaft, if it has an oil seal to retain oil on the inside of it, it's eventually going to wear a groove or cut a groove into it. So that's exactly what happened. And because that groove is cut into it and the oil seal is riding against that groove, there's a gap in between the seal and the crank, and that's where the oil is escaping through, and that's why it's coming down the backside of the engine and leaking. So in an attempt to fix that, I bought what is known as a Speedy Sleeve. So a Speedy Sleeve is just pretty much a crankshaft repair sleeve, and what you do is you tap it on onto the back of the crank. It just slides on using a tool and a hammer, and basically what it does is it repairs the mating surface of the crankshaft. So it'll give the rear main oil seal a new surface to ride against, and it pretty much refreshes that surface. So that's going to be my method of fixing the crankshaft and also finally fixing this oil leak. One thing I do find myself debating right now is if I I'm debating of taking off the whole entire housing, because this isn't leaking, right? This isn't leaking. The oil pan, upper girdle, or the oil pan, they aren't leaking either. It's just on this surface. The Speedy Sleeve is designed to break away after you're done tapping it on. So I'm also contemplating just removing the seal itself and tapping on the Speedy Sleeve and just pressing in a new seal, and then that being the end of it. Or I can remove these 2 back bolts for this housing, remove all this, pop this off, but then I have to reseal this surface right here on the upper girdle. I guess that would save me the trouble of having to take the oil pan off, the upper girdle off, all that shit. Okay, so as you guys can see, my decision was to take this housing off. I already took the seal out of the housing, but just to show you where the groove is, it's right there. You can run your fingernail in it, and then also there's a little burr right there where you see that mark. And I just removed the burr with a file just to remove any imperfections. And now this is the solution. So this is called a Speedy Sleeve, or a ready sleeve as National calls it. But there's a little groove right, I don't know if you can even see it. Anyway, there's a little groove. It's a breakaway point. But what you do is you have the sleeve, you have this cup that goes over the sleeve, and what you're doing is you're putting it over the shaft and just tapping around. You're not going to tap all the way flush against the, take it back under here. I'm not going to be tapping this all the way flush against the back of the block, just enough to cover this portion and then also that burr, which they're right next to each other. So alright, so after some research and discussion with a friend, I decided to purchase some Permatex red Loctite or Thread Locker Red. Basically what I'm doing now is I'm just cleaning this surface with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I'm going to be cleaning the ready sleeve as well. Then I'm going to apply a bit of the Thread Locker, just a light layer on this inner lip. Then I'll use the provided flange, or this little cup. Okay, and Speedy Sleeve is installed. Ready sleeve, whatever. So I just pressed it on there, and then all I did to make sure that it was even all around is I wanted it to be a 1/4 inch from this edge to the sleeve. So I just made a really quick gauge just out of some cardboard, 1/4 inch wide, and just went around it, around the entire circumference of it. And that just made sure that it was on all the way. And now I peeled off the edge of it using just some cutters to get it started. And then I just grabbed it and twisted it with this. But overall, pretty satisfied, seeing as this is my first time using a product like this. But now it's time to just clean up this surface, clean up the rear main surface, get it prepped and ready to go, and we'll just keep moving, put everything back together. So I just grabbed the old rear main seal and just slid it on there, and just right away you can totally tell the difference in how tight it is and how much better I feel like it's going to seal. And if I move it a little bit this way on the non-sleeve surface, it's just so much looser, it spins around a lot easier, but on the sleeve surface it just feels a lot better. So pretty excited. Okay, new rear main, oil seal's on, the housing is back on, everything's tight. Now I'm just going to throw the backing plate on, flywheel, clutch, transmission, everything goes back up in the air, button everything up, put oil in it, and we'll start it up. Alright, transmission is back in, everything is buttoned back up, battery's back in it. I will note one thing, is that last time that I was here, I did change the distributor O-ring, so it's probably off time, but yeah, see, it's off time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a timing light and put it back into time. But there are no leaks, there are no oil leaks anyway. I have identified one small water leak, and that is at this this rear coolant outlet port thingy. Underneath it, it's leaking just a little bit. I can put my finger under there and it's a little wet. So as that's dripping a little bit, it's running down to the bottom and it's leaking. But I do not see any oil, which is a great thing. All right, so I went and I bought a timing light from Harbor Freight, and I just timed it. I did put some paint marker on the crank pulley, that way I could see it a little better. That is a silver, gray, whatever you want to call it, so I can't really see it that great, but I timed it to the best of my ability. It is leaking water, like I said, from the back port, so I can just run my finger across that and it's water. So I'm very thankful for that. The car is no longer leaking any oil. Super stoked on that. You know, unfortunately it gives me another middle finger by leaking right here, but I'm not too worried about that. The dash does have a check engine light. Wait for it. Come on. Well, I guess not then. I thought it did. It did a second ago. Anyway, it was for a code 4. So in old Toyota terms, that was for a coolant temp sensor signal. It wasn't receiving, and I figured out why, and that is from over here. This little, let me see my screen. This little port right here is moving, so I'm gonna just end up getting another one of those sensors, and then whenever I drain the coolant out of the block to fix this coolant leak, I'll just replace that at the same time, and that way that'll be good. But for now, it is working. It is giving me a signal on the coolant temp, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I did time it all. It is all good to go. Right now I'm just going to clean up my mess around here, lower the car, and take it for a rip. Pretty ballsy for someone who doesn't really have brakes. Feels good though. Yeah, the brakes definitely need to be bled. This thing is super sketchy, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm super excited with where this build is going. I'm very relieved actually that the engine has stopped leaking oil. I'm super grateful for that. Yeah, it's leaking water, but that's just little stuff. Bleeding the clutch, bleeding the brakes, that's little stuff again. And then hopefully next time, like I said, I'll be able to do the exhaust, and then I also have a propane bushing kit for the car. So hopefully that'll definitely liven up the suspension and make it a lot more enjoyable to drive. But stay tuned for where this build's going. My goal eventually is to make the car a daily driver with AC and heat. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.